Hello, Algebra 2B. Welcome to day 2. Okay, I think we left off with a couple on the front and a couple on the back to go. We'll try to do as many as we can on the front. Those are pretty similar to what we did yesterday. The ones on the back are a little bit of a doozy, so we might try to just skip to those first. Okay, we finished with this last one. I just showed you how to split this up. We got 5 pi over 12. Let me zoom in a little bit. Cosine of 5 pi over 12, it's a little bit more difficult to break these apart in radians because they're fractions. Okay, we talked about 5 pi over 12 could be 2 pi over 12 and 3 pi over 12, which would reduce to nice fractions that are on our unit circle, pi over 6 and pi over 4. Okay, and it's a cosine sum formula. So we're going to have cosine pi over 6 times cosine pi over 4. The cosine formulas are opposite, so it's a sum formula. So that means we're going to have a minus in the middle. Sine pi over 6 times sine pi over 4. Okay, if you need to do a little sketch, pi over 6 and pi over 4, 30 degrees and 45 degrees, just to kind of help you visualize where we're at. Cosine pi over 6, we got radical 3 over 2. Cosine pi over 4 is radical 2 over 2 minus 1/2 times radical 2 over 2. It's the same answer we've been getting the whole time. We got a square root of 6 over 4 and a square root of 2 over 4. Square root of 6 minus square root of 2 all over 4. Okay, kind of skipped a couple of the in-between steps there of square root of 6 over 4, square root of 2 over 4, and then putting them together as one fraction. After you do these a bunch, you start seeing them and moving a little faster. Okay, these next two on this side of the page are actually on the unit circle. So sine of 135 is the 45 in quadrant 2, so I'm expecting this to be radical 2 over 2. Okay, we could go a couple different ways here. You could go with a sum formula, you could go with a difference formula, you could go either way. Let's go with a sum formula. Let's go with 90 plus 45. Okay, so it's a sine sum formula. So we got sine of the first one times cosine of the second plus cosine of the first one times sine of the second one. And after you do a bunch of these, you'll start coming up with patterns in your own head and ways to kind of think about it so that you remember them without having to look. So sine of 90 is 1. Cosine of 45, radical 2 over 2. Cosine of 90 is 0 times radical 2 over 2. 0 times radical 2 over 2 is 0. We just have our radical 2 over 2. And that's what we were expecting. Okay? Another one that's already on the circle, negative 210. Okay, you're going to spin that backwards. There's negative 180. Negative 210 would be the same as positive 150. It'd be the same as positive 150. Okay? So any kind of combination here of adding or subtracting, and in fact, you could even just call it 150 and do 120 plus 30, because 150 is the same thing as negative 210. I'm going to try to make it happen so that the things would add or subtract to negative 210. Okay, but if you went with 150, that would be the equivalent, and you would still get the same thing. Just from the unit circle, we're expecting this to be a positive 1/2. Okay, I'm going to go with 60 minus 270. That should be negative 210. So we have sine of the first one, sine of 60, times cosine of 270, minus cosine of the first one, times sine of 270. Uh-oh, ran out of room there. Okay, so sine of 60 is radical 3 over 2. times cosine at 270 is 0. Nothing. Minus cosine at 60 is a half times sine at 270 is negative 1. So if minus 1/2 times negative 1, so it's going to be negative a half minus negative makes it a positive. A couple ways you could look at it. You could look at it that way. You could look at this as being just a negative a half times negative 1. Either way, we're coming out to a positive half, which is what we were expecting. All right. The fun ones. Okay. Tangent of 75. All right, we said tangent is going to be a little bit tricky. It's a little bit complicated. We got a lot of stuff going on. So I'm going to go with the sum formula. I'm going to go with 30 and 45. Tan A plus tan B over 1 minus tan A times tan B. Okay, and you're going to see this one gets a little tricky. A lot of details. Nothing we haven't done before. This is details. I'm going to go with 30 and plus 45. Okay, so maybe we need to come over here and think about, well, we'll set it up first, and then you'll see. So it's going to be tangent of the first plus tangent of the second. Tan 30 plus tan 45 over 1 minus tan 30 times tan 45. So we need to know what tangent of 30 and tangent of 45 are. Remember, it's sine divided by cosine. So at 30, the sine would be a half divided by radical 3 over 2 for the cosine. Multiply it by the reciprocal. And we are 1 over radical 3. Don't want a radical on the bottom, so we radical 3, top and bottom. And we finally finish with radical 3 over 3. That's going to be tangent of 30. 45 is a little bit easier because it's radical 2 over 2 divided by radical 2 over 2, which is 1. So that, we just had to do a little bit of work, and after you do those a couple times, you'll start to remember them. Because it's basically the same 3 things over and over and over. Radical 3 over 3, and 1. It'll be the same 3 things over and over and over. Okay, so here we go. Radical 3 over 3 plus 1 over 1 minus radical 3 over 3 times 1. Okay, I'm going to change. So this radical 3 over 3 times 1 is going to stay radical 3 over 3. I'm going to change my 1s to 3 over 3s so we can put these together. So I have radical 3 plus 3 over 3 over 3 minus radical 3 over 3. Fraction divided by fraction. We're going to multiply by the reciprocal. So we're going to have radical 3 plus 3 over 3 times, flip this one, 3 on top, 3 minus radical 3. Okay, now on recent quizzes, I've seen some of us get a little cancel happy here. The only thing we can cancel is the 3 on the top and the 3 on the bottom is by itself. We can't start cross-canceling with plus and minus stuff, okay? It's got to be multiplication or basically be the only thing on top and the only thing on the bottom. If there's a plus and a minus with it, now we can't cancel, unless it was the whole group, which it's not because this is a plus and this one's a minus. So now we have radical 3 plus 3 over 3 minus radical 3. Don't want to stop at that radical on the bottom, so we're going to multiply by the conjugate. 3 plus radical 3. 3 plus radical 3. And that's going to make this work out nice. The top's going to be a little messy, but that's okay. Let's see what we can get here. and without sliding too far over to the right. Okay? So we're going to have radical 3 times radical 3, and then radical 3 times radical 3 is regular 3, and 3 times 3 is 9, and 3 times radical 3 again. On the bottom, we're going to have 3 times 3 for 9, plus 3 radical 3, minus 3 radical 3, and then radical 3 times radical 3 is regular 3, negative times a positive is going to be a minus or a negative there. Okay, so on the bottom, positive 3 radical 3 minus 3 radical 3 is going to cancel. And then we can put these two together. Okay, on the top we can put those two together, and we can put these two together. So a lot of little details, nothing that we haven't done before, just a lot of little details. So on the top we got 3 plus 9 is 12, 3 radical 3 and another 3 radical 3 is 6 radical 3. And on the bottom those canceled out, and 9 and a minus 3 is 6. Both pieces on the top, 12 and 6 radical 3, both pieces on the top are divisible by 6. So we can divide by 6. And we finish with 2 plus 1 single radical 3. Whew! There was a lot there. Okay, first off, we had to figure out what tangent was going to be. Then we had to put them in. Then we got common denominators on the top and on the bottom. Fraction over a fraction, flipped it, multiplied by the reciprocal. That canceled, but we still had a radical on the bottom. Can't have that. And it's with a plus minus, so we had to do the conjugate. It was 3 minus radical 3, so top was 3 plus, and top and bottom was 3 plus radical 3. We multiplied that out. All the radicals canceled on the bottom, combined our top with like terms, and we looked to reduce. Whew, lots of steps. Okay, cosecant of 5 pi over 12. So we did a 5 pi over 12. We know that's going to be 2 pi over 12 and 3 pi over 12, reducing to pi over 6 and pi over 4. But I don't see a formula on my sheet for cosecant. Remember, cosecant is the reciprocal of sine. So we're going to do the sine of that. We're going to do the sine of that and then flip the answer at the end. Okay, so we're going to do sine. This is a sum. We're adding those up. So sine of the first times cosine second plus cosine first times sine second. Okay, sine of pi over 6. Okay, we're going to have 1/2 times cosine of pi over 4, radical 2 over 2, plus cosine pi over 6, radical 3 over 2, that's a times radical 2 over 2. So again, it's one of our common answers. We're going to have radical 2 over 4 plus radical 6 over 4 for radical 2 plus radical 6 all over 4. But that's what sine is. This is sine. We want cosecant. So we flip it. 4 on top, radical 2 plus radical 6 on the bottom. Uh-oh. 2 radicals on the bottom. Okay? I'll write that a little bit more clearly over here. Radical 2 plus radical 6. Okay, how do I fix that? Conjugate. Okay, radical 2 minus radical 6. Okay, so the top, just 4 radical 2 minus 4 radical 6. Bottom, radical 2 times radical 2. Do you want to go with radical 4, or do you want to just go right to the regular 2? That's fine. Minus radical 12 plus radical 12. Okay, Radical 2 times negative or minus radical 6 is going to be a minus radical 12. Same thing but positive, so plus, and those two pieces cancel. Radical 6 times a minus radical 6 is going to be radical is going to make it regular 6. It's going to be a minus 6. Okay, let's see what we got. 4 radical 2 minus 4 radical 6 over 2 minus 6 is negative 4. Okay, tricky stuff. Tricky stuff. You see the 4, you see the 4, you see the 4. This is a negative 4 on the bottom. Usually we don't want our bottom to be negative. If there's going to be a negative, it's going to be on the top. So we're going to reduce by a negative 4. We're going to reduce by a negative 4. Okay, that's going to change this to a negative radical 2. 4 over 4 would cancel out, but it's negative, so it's going to be a negative radical 2. Negative 4 divided by negative 4 is going to change this back to a positive or a plus radical 6. And there's nothing on the bottom because you used the whole thing. Okay? And if you want to flip it around to the positive ones first, that's the same thing. Minus. All right. Whew. Another one with a lot of little details. Another one with a lot of little details. Okay? Be careful on those. Those take practice, okay? Let's do one more of the prove it or show it identity ones. We're going to do this one. Cosine of 3 pi over 2 minus theta. We're showing that that's equal to negative sine. Negative sine. Okay. You know what? Let's have you try this one on your own. Go ahead and push pause. Go ahead and push pause and try this one on your own. And let's go with, let's see how we did here. We got cosine of 3 pi over 2 times cosine theta. And it's a minus, so the cosine ones are opposite, so plus sine 3 pi over 2 times sine theta. Cosine 3 pi over 2 is going to be 0. Sine 3 pi over 2 is negative 1. So 0 times that. Then we got negative 1 times sine theta. Negative sine theta, that's what we were looking for. You don't need the 1, just a negative. Okay, where's our day 2 homework at? Okay, day 2 homework, we're looking at page 889 again. Number 16, because that was the tangent when we skipped from the day before. 22, 24 through 29, skip number 26. And then let's do 34 through 37, okay? Make sure we're getting our practice in, folks. Make sure we're getting our practice in. You know, this isn't stuff that you can just kind of practice on the notes and then do the review and then think you're good to go. The more you practice it, the better you'll be. All right. Thanks for watching and good luck. Let me know if you have any questions on that homework.